Welcome to another episode of Maunalua, Past, Present, Future. My name is Kendrick Chang, a youth advisor for Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, and today I will be serving as your host. Joining me today is Chris Cramer and Kaui Lucas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Kendrick.
Well, first, let's start with introductions. Chris, you're an educator.
Yeah, I've worked a long time with youth in the secondary schools and elementary as well. And I also serve as the board president for the Maunalua Fishpond Heritage Center. And also one of the founding members, so along with Kaui Lucas is also.
Well, my mother's cousin asked me to join the board, but that was at the point where Chris had already laid the foundation for it and created it, because it was really his dream to preserve this fish pond. Actually, not the Kaniwai Spring that we're going to be talking about today, but the original ŌleloNet, which is another fish pond in the Maunalua Bay area that we've been taking care of since, what was it, 2007?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
And Kai, I understand you have a deep family connection to this area.
Yes, I'm the 6th generation of 8 generations of my family that's lived in Maunalua area, so we've been around for a long time. Kind of hard to get rid of us. I counted a little while ago, and I think there were 50 of us living in the area. So
Wow.
I'm not the only board member with deep family ties. We also have the Kareape's, who have been there for generations and generations in Kulia'o. So it's one of the it's one of the nice things about being in this group, that we are able to maintain that contact.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyways, Chris, how did the Maunalua Fishpond Heritage Center started?
Well, we started just really through talking story with a lot of the kupuna from our area, and some of them were the last fish pond keepers, and in their memories they had all those years of taking care of these fish ponds, and we learned that Maunalua had the largest saltwater fish pond in Polynesia, and it was right in our area, and very few people knew about these fish ponds. A lot of the memory had been lost, and the elderly people who actually took care of these fish ponds, they were really getting old, and with them went all that memory and centuries of knowledge and cultural practice. So we started Maunalua Fishpond Heritage Center as not only a way to perpetuate it, but we also learned there were still existing fish ponds in our area, and they were really threatened and they were really damaged, but they were still existing. So that was kind of the opportunity that presented itself.
And then, if I may ask, why fish ponds? I understand, back for a long time that Maunalua used to be a real fish pond area. So, there's a lot of different resources, but, why fish ponds in particular?
I think fish ponds, Oahu is known for fish ponds, and definitely if you are looking down on Maunalua Bay, you'll see all these big points of land that are sticking out into the bay, and those are actually former fish ponds. But why fish ponds is, they were designed to feed, and these fish ponds that we had in our community were massive fish ponds. Keahupua Maunalua was 523 acres, and you had Kupapa Fish Pond and Wailupe Fish Pond, all huge fish ponds. And with those ponds, it's like the icebox. So you would never go hungry with that amount of fish. It's a steady supply. You don't have to go out into the rough ocean. So, you know, that's what they were designed for, to feed the community.
Right. And as part of your organization, what kind of, work have you been trying to do, or what have you been trying to accomplish? And maybe Kaui, you may be willing to jump in on.
Well, we've been trying to get the permission, actually. We've had to work really hard. Chris had to change some legislation. We got a law passed that prohibits the sale of state lands, state-owned fish ponds. So there's been a whole lot of sort of administrative work that we've done, and on the one side, and then on the other side, there's been all of these incredible community groups and students, all different ages, all walks of life, have come to help clean up and restore the flow of water in some cases, or take out the invasive species. And that's the exciting part.
See them come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are...
We have some pictures, I think.
Yeah, I think we have some. So maybe we'll start with...
Yeah, I know the first one we have is of Kaui Spring.
Well, let's see it. Can we pull that up?
Yeah, it's up. Now Kaui Spring is your most recent, project or initiative.
So yeah, the photo of Kaui Spring. If you look at Kaui Spring, you'll see just that amazing clear blue water, and that's cold water coming from underground through the lava tube, and it's sweet to the taste. It has a little bit of salt, and Kaui Spring is located along right behind Kaui Fishpond, so it feeds Kaui Fishpond and Paiko Wildlife Sanctuary, and
and our viewers right now has a map of the Maunalua areas.
So yeah, on this map you'll be able to see the whole shoreline and what that used to look like. All the fish ponds were specifically designed to be built right where springs were. This is another photo of Kaui Fishpond. So
the spring feeds this fish pond, and then that feeds Paiko Lagoon.
Right.
So there's this series of bodies of water, and you can really see the interconnectedness.
Right.
This is pretty amazing. That I don't think this was my family's ranch, although we did have a dairy farm. I think this was the ones from Angela's Ohana in Kuli'o'o, but it's kind of amazing to think that not long ago there were cows wandering.
I don't know if they were ranching, but they would definitely have been around when that was happening. Yeah.
Right.
And this is, it's good to see the old photos, because now with all the development, a lot of people don't know where our resources are, because they're all obscured by development, or they've been lost.
Right.
Or, so it helps to look back at old photos.
Sure, of course. And then, what challenges, in particular, have you really faced as far as, really bringing back what, in a way, has been lost in the past?
I think one of the just when you have changes in land use, and the people that actually stewarded a lot of these resources were evicted or moved, you get a loss of connection to a lot of our resources. And then later we also had, as far as the names, so the names were changed. So if you have a fish pond, and then all of a sudden it's renamed to something else, or
do you have an example? Right.
Well, there's a lot of examples. If a fish pond is
Let's talk about Hawaii Kai.
Yeah. So Hawaii Kai was Maunalua,
Right.
which Maunalua was named after the boy Maunalua who actually died in the fish pond, and the fish pond was named after him. So when it's the name changed to Hawaii Kai after Henry Kaiser. You know, the whole history is lost, and so people don't know the stories associated with it. So names are important, and it affects how we think of our resources and how we take care of them. So.
Right. And how about for you, Kaui? I mean, given that your family has, you know, lived in this area for generations.
Oh, I just feel so grateful every day that I get to wake up and look at Maunalua, that I'm still here, that it's been possible for me to remain part of the community, and so it's really an honor to be able to still and to see my young cousins coming up, and you know, think that they're going to be hopefully able to be fishing in these waters when they're adults. I love that. I mean, there just don't seem to be that many places left in the world where there's that kind of community ownership.
I see. And I mean, obviously, it has a different impact in, I mean, of course, a wide variety, and in particular, as far as, you know, education, students, and for you, Chris, what kind of programs or activities has been really particularly beneficial for students or, you know, children in the area?
Well, we actually have a curriculum, a fish pond curriculum that's really pretty broad as far as there's opportunities for students to, you know, engage in science, you know, learn all about the science of the fish pond and the hydrology, and then there's the cultural aspects, and you know, there's definitely a lot of cultural practices that are tied to the fish ponds and the springs, and learning about it in a book is quite different from actually experiencing, you know, a lot of that. And the same goes with the, you know, the fish and the biology. So there's a whole range of things that go into the program that we. So the students are kind of, it's exciting for them to come and experience all these things.
Sometimes they're just pulling weeds and digging up haliko, which is Chris has sort of mastered the art of removal, but sometimes they get to fish the invasive species, the tilapia, out of the spring.
Oh, wow.
We have also gardening projects there. We've started these mala or gardens growing food on land next to the spring. So there's a pretty broad variety of activities that are all part of this stewardship.
I see. And of course, we do have more photos for our viewers. We can pull them up. But anyways, I mean, just going back to students, and we also have the broad community and the culture aspects as well. If maybe you want to touch upon that first, Chris.
Well, I think one of the things that has been exciting is that for many people, they see our part of the island, and they you know, it's easy to see all the development changes, and people forget that there's much longer history, and there's you know, so when people are exposed to, you know, these different aspects of the fish pond,
like the research that you've done at Bishop Museum and the fish hooks that were found near the Kaniwai Spring, and there's that whole area that you were doing.
Now we do finally have a photo up.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you know, the right adjacent to the Kaniwai Spring are numerous habitation shelters that go back centuries and centuries, and in those shelters they did some of the first radiocarbon dating in the Pacific, and so they they were able to tell when
Yeah.
some of these migrations were occurring.
Right.
So that was really, kind of groundbreaking at the time. And a lot of there's different kappa designs and a lot of things that are just ancient, and you can see how ancient, some of these, they were ingenious use of resources. So you'll see, many different fish hooks. You'll see adzes and all kinds of seashells and how they were worked.
Yeah, and I do want to bring attention to the current photo we have on the screen, which I understand it's the Lucas family, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, the woman with the lei sitting on the left is my great-grandmother, Marina Epu Bannister Lucas, who was, well, this isn't a picture at me, but she did live at me. And they had a dairy, the dairy I was talking about. And she raised 5 children there, and we also had the fish pond, the new fish pond at the time, which she allowed, she leased out actually, and other people were stewarding. But even though she and I were alive at the same time, we overlapped in life for a couple of years. So this wasn't at NIU, but it, I think, Chris, you said this was taken near Ward?
Yeah,
the Ward
plantation.
But it has that same look of you have the fish pond, you have the coconut trees, and, food was always close by.
Wow.
Spring.
Fresh water.
Spring fed.
Yeah.
Mullet.
But wow, that's a really incredible, family story. And as I understand, we do have more photos that we can show on the screens, particularly with Kanawai Spring. And then the next one we do have, as far as our photos, is overgrowth in the area. So, when was?
So when we first started restoring Kanawai Spring, you couldn't see the spring. And that was about all you could see was just a completely covered area, and it was the site of a lot of vandalism, and homeless population was actually living there.
And how long ago was this when you first started?
About 2011.
Oh,
beginning of 2011. So, it was really dramatic to start uncovering all the brush and all the as the community, each school and group did a portion. So and then you can see on the screen, this is not a water commercial. This is actually what the spring looked like after uncovering all the brush, and that's spring water that they were using to water the coconut groves. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Uncle Henry.
Yeah.
So a big part of the restoration has been the community coming out and making it happen. And so when Uncle Henry came out, that was a really memorable day. He came out with Uncle Wally Ito, and Uncle Henry passed last year, but he actually, the way he put it was so beautiful. He said, this is where the mountain hanaus gives birth to the ocean. What he meant was this was where the fresh water meets the brackish water, and that's where you see all the baby fish, and that's where everything is born. And
got it.
So it's a beautiful thing to see that water flowing out and all the.
And is this a fish in the spring?
Yeah. So this is an opu fish, opu akupa. There's many different types of fish and prawns, and a lot of rare species that are actually inside Kanawai that, with the restoration, have come back and are not found anywhere, in area. So this is kind of a unique place to see.
And I mean, to give viewers a perspective, how big is Kaui Spring?
It's not big, actually. It's just a small site, but it's the source for a much larger area. So even though it's small, it really feeds a huge area.
Right, and I mean, just given all this rich history and I mean value that your work has been doing, how can people who has not heard about your organization get involved, or for those who may be watching right now be like, man, this is something I want to
Chris, we are so lucky to have Chris, especially at this point, because he's taking a break from the regular teaching, and so all kinds of groups, they can get a hold of Chris and set up a time, and if they want to do cleanup or stewardship or have more, we have groups that do actual scientific monitoring research projects. So it's been really a huge boon for us to have the interns come. Yeah, you have some now.
Yep,
right?
We have several this summer. Every summer we've had high school and college interns and doing research and actually working at the fish ponds. And
water quality research, right?
Water quality. We've had a real exciting one was the Puhonua project, and that was where they actually just took small native plants and they made floating hoops. Yeah. And then they filled into kind of floating islands, and that really has been amazing to see those grow, and they're really beneficial for the water quality and the different species that come. So that's been an exciting project. But the third Saturday of each month we have opportunities and for community members that would like to join.
Right. And so this is every third Saturday of every month.
And we have also the website, so we can check on Maunalua Fishpond on Facebook or on the web.
We have a really active or fairly active Facebook page, so if there's going to be, we do it almost every month. Every once in a while we don't. So it's a good idea to check the Facebook page. And we have partners with other fish pond groups around the island, so it's a good place to check and see what's going on in the world of fish ponds.
Right. Now, I mean, we do have a couple minutes before we have to end, but I mean, given how much work you already done, I mean, what is your vision, or what would you like to see happen like 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
Well, 5-10 years from now, we would hope that all the success up to this point really just continues to blossom, and these fish ponds continue to be thriving, and not only for our community, but as a learning and cultural place for other communities. Say like, hey, they did it, and they can take some place that's been so damaged and bring it back to life, and maybe we can do that in our community. That would be the, just to see that perpetuated, and it has been exciting too to see it. So.
And for you, Cole, I mean, you haven't. I mean, we see another generation of Lucases getting involved.
Well, I hope there's another generation of Lucases. But what's really exciting is just seeing the kind of projects that are like those Puhonua, or growing the native plants used for landscaping instead of the introduced ones, and slowly over time turning this property that was an estate back into a preserved in perpetuity conservation site, and knowing that there never is going to be development there, that nobody's going to make a swimming pool out of this out of the spring, or that is my dream, that
Right.
we will have gotten to the point
Right.
in our organization where we can officially say, yes,
Mhm.
this is going to happen now, and forever it's going to be a freshwater resource for the community.
And it'll actually feed once again
Right.
too. So
Mhm.
these were, at one time they fed, with the coconut grove, and I think we have a photo of the restored coconut grove and some of the volunteers. Yeah. So this is what the coconut grove looks like now after it's been restored, and there's so much benefits from that, just the coconut itself. So
Right. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that we ran out of time, but really, thank you, Chris and Kaui, for being on the show today.
yeah.
Thank you, Kendrick, for letting us come and talk about Kaniwai Spring.
Yeah.
Hello, Kendrick.
Thank you again to all of our viewers, and we do wanted to thank Livable Hawaii Kai Hui and our partners at Ōlelo Studios and Kaimwiki High School for helping us put on this show. My name is Kendrick Chang, and signing off. Mahalo.